Hello, everybody. Here's a maiden voyage of the AMG Hobby Talk episode where you're going to get a chance to meet several members of the AMG Collectibles team. Now, some of the people you're going to already seen, so Sherry and myself you're familiar with from the introduction video. But I'm still going to do a little round the horn to introduce everybody. We'll talk a little bit about what they do briefly, who they are and what they do, and we'll get a chance to elaborate on that in future episodes. But for this first round, we're going to do that, introduce you to the team, talk a little bit about what's going on in the store, and then we'll talk about a couple of upcoming products that are going to be coming into the store this week. So first, let's start off with Sherry. Sherry, who are you? What do you do?
I'm Sherry, and I'm the owner here at AMG.
That works right there. That'll work. Lloyd, same question. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Lloyd. I'm in charge of the break room and all the breaks.
Nice. And we'll talk about the break room here in a second as well. So we'll come back to Lloyd on that piece. Blair, who are you? And what do you do? I already gave part of it away, but what do you do?
Yeah, I'm Blair. I just I've been with the AMG team almost 2 years and just working just the retail area here in the store.
Perfect. And Steve, I suspect you're Steve if that's your real name, but who are you truly, and what do you do?
I'm Steve, the general manager, and I pretty much keep Blair and Lloyd's bathroom breaks in check.
Fantastic. That's right there. Wow. Top quality. I love it. Perfect. So you get a chance to learn more about this cast of characters as we go along with it, but that's just to get us a little taste, a little starting point. So first, what I want to do is, since there are 5 of us on the screen, we'll do it a little bit of grade school style. So if anybody in particular has a thought, I'll need a little bit of an indicator, or you can just wave your arm, flail, whatever you need to do. First, I want to quickly talk about what's going on in the shop. So one of the big things is that the store got relocated. Obviously, there was the flooding and the thing going on with it. Temporary location, and now the location is fully up and running. A little bit of renovations happening, still ongoing. Things are happening obviously dynamically. Let me start with you, Lloyd, first, because obviously one of the things that is getting added in is the bricks, the things that you were talking about. I got a chance to see some of the progress photos. I'll see if I can pull them up here for you, but otherwise, can you give me like high level what's going on with that break room, what it's looking like so far?
Well, we're still getting it set up. It's still a work in progress, so we're not going to actually start breaks until we're fully ready to go. We're not doing anything without 100% commitment. So once we're able to actually start at the breaks, yeah, they'll be up all the time. Going to start off with a couple just personal breaks, just to make sure all the software is working well and everything like that. So that'll be on YouTube, and you'll be able to, once you see those, the breaks are going to be coming directly after.
Sounds good. Now, one of the things, like I said, we'll locate some of the images and everything, and I'll pull them up, and we'll put together some kind of a video showing off some of that. But one of the reasons I wanted to ask you about it and touch on it is that one of the things I can see is that it's going to be very similar to a lot of the nicer braking setups, because there's a lot of camera angles. There's a lot of stuff going on. You got mounted cameras. You got the close camera. You got a couple of things. Just high level, what are you trying to establish? We're trying to cover how many camera angles, how many directions do we
right
get to
now,
see Lloyd from multiple perspectives?
Right now, we just got the 2 camera angles, but also if you come into the shop while I'm breaking, we have the 4x8 window here. You can see directly into the break room.
Perfect.
So you'll be able to watch breaks live in the shop.
Ooh, you can have your own cheering section. I'm getting excited. I think we can get some foam fingers. I think I think that would really sell the thing. Sherry,
Definitely.
Write this down. This is some good stuff.
I got it. It's on my notepad.
Foam fingers, so that we can all cheer Lloyd on. I think it's going to be really good. So anybody else want to kind of fill me in on one of the things that I noticed about the way the shop is going is, first of all, there's going to be there's already the full-time, the PSA submission center. That's kind of over on the side. It's one of the areas there. But then there's also the area with a lot of the singles. There's the area with there's a lot of different sections that talk about it. Anybody who wants to touch on a couple of the things that are getting built up or have been built up already a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, we just want to have something for everyone. So that's kind of, we have the space now where we can have 3 or 4 different areas with different things, hopefully cater to, every type of collector. And we're still working on that and putting the pieces together, but we'll get there soon.
Perfect. Do you have a favorite, Steve? Any one of the ones? And then Blair as well, if you want to touch on that. But do you have a favorite so far?
Right. We're still working on our attic, which is kind of a catch-all. Honestly, it's too neat right now. We need to mess it up. We need to mess it up a little bit. But when we get there, I think people will have fun back there and find some real gems.
Nice. Blair, it looked like you had a thought.
That's what I was going to say. The attic seems to be, the main space is beautiful when you walk in. There's showcase product and just different things catch your eye. But yeah, the attic, and even my daughter who came for a visit while we were setting things up. There's a beautiful orange couch back there, and that's her favorite spot. She said to me this morning, "Daddy, when are we going back? I want to get back to the couch area and get on her iPad and stuff." So it's just a comfortable. That's my favorite spot. But like Steve said, yeah, we need to kind of mess that up a little bit with some bargains for people to kind of hunt for.
Perfect. Now, one thing that I noticed kind of when we started doing the recording previously is that the echoes will come and go, and a lot of that is just based on the space. Folks will be in proximity to each other. We'll work on that. So, but we could hear the voice, and it's probably just the emphasis. The room wanted to emphasize what Blair was saying so that we could really absorb it. So I appreciated that. Thank you, Blair. I appreciated the special effects. That was good. One other thing I wanted to quickly touch on, just before we get into some of the products and some of the other stuff, one other thing I wanted to touch on is obviously with the renovation and the space and everything, what's the experience been with the new space? How are you guys enjoying it? Obviously, we talk about some of the stuff that's still in work in progress. You're building it up. But I've got a couple of images that Sherry shared with me, so I'll share them as kind of we're talking through it of the space, people in it, and a little bit of going on. How's the experience been with the whole grand opening, the trade night? Anybody who wants to share any experiences so far?
I'd like to speak on that. First of all,
Sure.
the construction crew and the painters and the plumbers, they all got the work done, and that doesn't always happen. When you're trying to meet a deadline, they miraculously all came together, and especially with everything going on in the world with the flooding, and there's more important things out there than a sports collectibles store. But we were able to rally everybody and met our goal of opening on time, which was fantastic.
Nice.
Definitely.
And just as you're talking, I'm showing a couple of the pictures here, and you can already see there's a lot of activity going on, which is really great. It shows off the space very nicely. A lot going on there. You can see the wax in the background and everything in the showcases, which is great. You got a couple of kids showing off their Pokemon cards. We'll talk a little bit more about the Pokemon here in a minute. And I'd actually shared this with Sherry previously. One of the things I appreciated, so from this from this angle here, one of the things I appreciated is kind of the my era of wax going on over here on the side. I saw a lot of early '90s and late '80s stuff, which I'm very familiar with, and very. It's like I felt a little nostalgic ping just seeing that shelf there. I appreciated it. Doesn't hold up the value in the long run, but I still enjoyed it. It was still from my time, so it works out. And the fact that I recognize those boxes just from the color scheme and everything this far after the fact should tell you something. That was kind of my era when I started my collecting thing, so that was good stuff. So I wanted to share some of those pictures with it, but that's good. Anybody else have any thoughts or want to share anything about the opening and the early days? Blair, please.
Yeah, just actually back to trade night. I know we were showing some pictures there, but yeah, one thing with the kids, it seems to be, don't quite know if it was part of it when we started it, but having the kids come out and, obviously sometimes it's 5 to 8, so early the kids come, but some of the kids stick around, and that's a fun part for us because it is hard for kids to kind of collect these days and certain things. So it was nice to get those out, and we try to cater to those guys a little bit. And but it's always fun to see the kids getting excited. So yeah, that warms our hearts. Every trade night.
Oh, you got to enjoy the enthusiasm what you can before you become a cynical long-term collector. Then you lose a little bit. You lose a little bit of enthusiasm. You find your fun in a different way, but it's not quite the same. So the youthful enthusiasm I think is appreciated. I think it's part of the experience there for sure. Perfect. Anyone else want to add any thoughts then before we get into a couple of products?
And just as a team, we really came together. Like
nice.
Within like 5 weeks, we went from one space to the other. And we actually got along doing it. There wasn't a whole lot of arguing or anything. Okay. And we had some good laughs, but still got the work done. So I think we've got a really good crew.
Nice. Well, you didn't have to resort to Thunderdome? Not yet? That's a lot later? We're saving it later? So to be clear, my job is to stir the pot a little bit and bring it. There's some folks are getting like, wait, that's not a bad idea. Thunderdome. Okay. That's a good thought.
Could be wrestling night in the break room on Fridays or something.
I like me some wrestling, so it's working out really well. So far, sounding good to me. No, that's perfect. Thank you all. Um, so let me get into a couple of the products here, and then we'll open it up a little topic here at the end as well. And like I said, for a lot of these episodes, I want to make clear also to folks that check this out after the fact, we're really open to questions and comments. So one of the things you can put questions and comments in the comments section, and if there's certain questions that might be a little bit interesting, it's something we can address in a future episode. So it's one of those things. There is an interactive element. So even in the recorded videos like this, it still gives people a chance to interact with us a little bit. It's a good way of letting us know if there's something you'd like to hear about, like emphasis a little bit more. We talked a little bit about the break room, work in progress, but if you have questions about that, that's something we can get Lloyd to speak on. If there's something going on in the shop, on any of the other gentlemen on the screen here, or Sherry can also share some of what's going on at the same time. So that's what it's here for. It's letting you get to know all the folks here that you see on the screen, but then at the same time, you get a chance to ask questions about a full-time working card shop and a lot of the inner workings. There's an opportunity to ask those questions. So I want to put that out to folks checking it out in YouTube land. Also, thank you to those folks that have already subscribed to the channel. We're this close to 100 subscribers, and we barely got out of the blocks. I was like, come on. I saw 99, and I'm like, someone has got to be number 100. I don't care who it is. It can be someone on the screen. I really don't care. But somebody's got to subscribe and get to 100. I need it. Get on it. But thank you all for the support so far. We appreciate that. Okay. So we got 3 products that are coming into the store right now, and I'll start sharing a little bit. The first one for the Pokemon one, I don't have anything to share with you yet, but who wants to speak on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? I want to make sure I read this right. 151 Ultra Premium Collection.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, so that's very similar to the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection and the Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection. So you'll get that metal card of Mew, which is top notch, if I do say so myself.
I did watch a video about this and got that there was a metal card in there. So yes.
Yeah. The thing I've been noticing though, I've watched a couple of videos and they have presented the box a bit different than they had for the Charizard Ultra Premium and the Celebration. So now the 3 promotional cards are in the top when you lift the flap up on it. So I have seen that metal card, because of the weight, it tends to be moving a bit inside that box. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so you'll get the 3 promotional cards, of course, the booster packs, the playmat, the coin, the deck box. It's definitely going to be a hit in the store, that's for sure. Then we also have the Alakazam box and the Zapdos box with the mini tins coming in as well. We sold out the booster bundles very, very quickly. So right now, you can probably see behind me, we have some of the binder collections, ETBs, and the posters left as well.
Nice. That sounds good. I did get a chance to watch a couple of videos related to it. If I find a couple, I'll refer them because we can also share whenever anybody does a good job reviewing those. Long run wise on the channel, we'll start making our own videos where we'll get a chance to talk about some of these products as well. It's one of those things we can bring to the table, and if there's any interest or curiosity about any of that stuff, we can definitely do that. But I did notice it looked like a good presentation. I'll say that for like somebody who's opening it up. To your point, you've got the cards. I saw that you got the cards at the top, and then you've got all the stuff laid out inside the box. So I think for the folks that are into the Pokemon, I think it's a pretty good presentation and interesting configuration.
For sure.
Okay, so second one here that we'll talk a little bit about. I'm a little bit more in my wheelhouse, familiar with this one. 2223 Leaf in the Game Use Hockey. So if you like your game use, your autographs, a lot of that, finding out just how many more of the Gordie House stickers Leaf has left as they continue to work their way through years and years and years. Gordie Howe hasn't been with us for years, but his autograph lives on in Leaf products, so that continues on in this one. I'll share a little bit of what's happening on the screen. Who wants to share a little bit about this product? Who wants to talk about it?
Well,
Please.
That's kind of from my wheelhouse back in the day. I used to collect Leaf and Ultimate and used to really chase those, golden oldies, the Gordie Howes, the Bellevos, and then some of the more modern, like Lemieux. Obviously, these ones Lemieux. Yeah, I saw those feature and Vesna. How can you go wrong with Vesna? But yeah, it's a bit of a niche. Obviously, the new modern collectors, may not adhere to it, but it's a pretty cool product.
Now, a couple of things that I'll add here as well, kind of to what Blair is saying, is that one of the things with a lot of the Leaf products and in the game used is that they've got a lot of game used pieces to go along with it. And while they are sticker autographs, it does allow them to get a variety of combinations. So a couple of here that I'll highlight, the multiplayer tends to be a thing. Obviously, these are renders, but at the same time, having dealt with a lot of Leaf product in the past, you can expect that there's some good combination of memorabilia, a lot of good memorabilia pieces, a lot of multiplayer autograph and memorabilia combinations like this. So this is one example. 6 players. So you're getting, you know, Yager, Lemieux, Solani, right there, Hall of Famers, Adam Oates, Eric Lindros, and Doug Gilmore on a card. So front and back, you know, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck as far as punch for a lot of these cards, especially some of these multiplayer pieces. Now, something like this is one thing that Leaf does a really good job of. It is coming up with themes. So this is back-to-back, talking about the back-to-back Pittsburgh Penguins Stanley Cups. Mario on the front, Yager on the back. Makes perfect sense. You know, that's a really good combination there. But it's not something that everybody thinks about, so they're very good about coming up with these little themes along the way. So I just wanted to share some of these. I'll include a link to the Cardboard Connection site for folks to check this out later if they want to scroll through this themselves. It includes the checklist. One other thing I want to make sure we talk about is that these packs, so to speak, I think it's 5 cards per pack, you know, box, basically. And so that's included as part of it. And you are getting, you're not getting base cards out of this. It's pretty much you're getting some combination of memorabilia, autograph, something in every card inside of the pack. So it's very much stacked to be that kind of product. Sounds good. Anybody else want to add anything else about this? This is something, Lloyd, a product like this is something that kind of lends itself well to breaks as well. Especially for a lot of it's just in the past I've seen, and like I said, you can see the checklist there. A lot of Hall of Famers, a lot of legends, and a lot of quality players that they included something like that. Products like that lend themselves to it. Any thoughts about how something like, not necessarily this product, but how products like that lend themselves to that kind of a format?
Well, they got a few products like that. They also got the Lumber Kings, and you know, Leaf does put out nice products. There's not a lot of hobby love for them, which I don't understand why. But it's beautiful product, and I will be putting them into the breaks. Yeah, like I thoroughly enjoy it because you see the actual licensed products, they don't have the Vesna cards in there, right? They don't have much for Sawchuck and stuff like that. But Leaf usually always get them in their products. Howie Morenz is another one that Leaf usually always has in their products. So it's just these old pre-war players who actually get in products with Leaf, which you don't see in other products.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think part of that to give, you know, the context and the background, we do have to give a lot of credit to Dr. Brian Price, who was the owner at In the Game, who previously prior to Brian Gray taking over. And now the gentlemen are going to carry on because Brian Gray stepped down from Leaf. But at the same time, they're going to carry on that legacy to a certain degree. So this is still kind of a carryover from the Brian Gray days. But after Brian Price sold his share stock, a lot of that memorabilia came from his stock and his inventory. So that's why you're still seeing a lot of the Vesna pieces and all that. So credit to him for having quite the collection of game used memorabilia. And we're still kind of reaping the. I teased about the Gordie Howe thing, but they stockpiled autographs of him in the stickers a long time ago. And they dole it out a little bit at a time in these products, which allows people to still be able to get Gordie Howe autographs in these products, even years after he's passed. Eventually, it will run out. There will come a day where there just won't be one, and it'll be whatever already existed is it. But they're finding ways to include it in the product a little at a time, giving people a chance, at least for now. So as of 22-23, we can still get a chance to get a Gordie Howe autograph in a brand new product. So good on them for that. Now, the other one, we had a little bit of fun before we started recording. It's 21-22, UD Premier Hockey, because our friends at Upper Deck refused to get us up to date. Creates a little bit of confusion, because 22-23 will come out eventually, just not yet. So for 21-22, does anybody want to say a couple things about that product?
Well, they do have one more subset at it. We looked it up just before we went on here, the Patchtacular ones. So you can get them in single and dual, and just down a bit there, Carlos, I think it's the last one.
Yep, I'm just going to slide through a couple of these as we're talking about it. Go for it.
Yeah, they're beautiful cards, the Patchtacular ones. I think these are going to be really big in the hobby if they're all like what the picture shows. So yeah, it's coming up here now, shoulder logo.
Nice.
So that's the dual. And they also got single player versions.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And also, I'm a big fan of the Mega Patch. Like, if you're going to do UD Premier, you got to talk about the Mega Patch. And I almost feel like you have to say it. You know, we talked about Blair's Echo from earlier. I feel like you need the Echo, like Mega Patch. Lloyd, take a note of that. You can't just say it normally. You gotta add a little flair to it. Like, I'm sorry, I pull it, Lloyd. I want mega patch.
Yeah.
A little extra oomph. You know,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying. It's what
Yeah,
people want when they're getting one of those.
There's a lot of collectors for the mega patches. There's Facebook pages specifically for them. So they're the big chase card of the Premier.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of those products that I think is a lot of fun as far as getting a lot of those memorabilia pieces. Upper Deck is pretty good about filling those in with a lot of that. And to your point, hockey does very well when providing that type of memorabilia because the hockey jerseys lend themselves out. If you're going to have other sports are going to have a tougher time having something like mega patch because you just don't have enough size pieces. It doesn't work. With hockey, you've got shoulder patches, you've got the big crest a lot of times. So it's one of those things. You have that luxury. The other ones just don't have that ability. So take advantage of it, especially something like a Blackhawks. You know, if you get a Blackhawks player in there, you know, Connor Bedard's coming up. So something like that would be ideal with all the colors and everything that you can get in one of those. Those will be highly sought after. That'll definitely be one of the pieces that comes into it. But if you've got a favorite player, there's a good chance they're probably been part of that set. Perfect. All right. One more thing then. Anybody else want to add anything else to that one before I open it up to a little topic that we can have a little fun with for a couple of minutes before we call it a day on this version, on this edition?
No?
Speaking
You
our
guys
forever
got
home piece.
anything?
All right. Sounds good. So why don't I throw you guys a little bit of a curveball? I'll pull this out of left field, but I'd like to get your takes and your opinion on it. We'll have a little bit of fun with it. Now, it's not a product that we talked about tonight, but it is topical at the moment. We had recently Topps had to come out with a little bit of a mea culpa because they had a little bit of an issue with a 95 duplicate one-of-ones that came out as part of their Bowman Chrome product. Now, stuff like that happens, but usually not to that degree. Usually not to the degree of having an entire section of a print run of one-of-ones especially coming out with duplicate copies. Now, one of the things that all the manufacturers make oftentimes other copies of the cards in order to have replacements. You know, if a one-of-one gets damaged, you want to be able to have another copy of it. That's normal. That happens. And a lot of these companies use the same suppliers. So mistakes are going to happen, usually not to that scale. But the little wrinkle that I thought was interesting is that they then offered a buyback program where if you are the first person to return a one-of-one that fits under that checklist, you can get somewhere between, I think it's between $3,000 and $75,000, depending on the one-of-one Superfractor that you return back, which creates kind of a floor on pricing if you're the first one to return it. So it creates a little bit of an automatic, not dissimilar to bounties, but on a much bigger scale, 95 cards that fits in that checklist. So I wanted to get a little bit of a roundtable discussion for just a couple minutes, just on some thoughts about, you know, mistakes happen, but usually not to that scale. It's kind of an interesting one. What do you think, though, about resolving it by pulling out the checkbook and saying, you know, basically, like, if you are the first person to submit one of those, we've got a guaranteed dollar amount here that we'll offer you, basically to take it off your hands. And then if somebody does that, then the other one becomes a one-of-one. So it kind of resolves your problem by, you know, you're throwing money at the problem to fix it. So anybody want to take a stab at that one and have any thoughts?
Nothing surprises me anymore.
No.
I almost wanted. Could that have been scripted? Who knows?
That's one of the questions that gets brought up. That's what I say. I want to have just a little discussion. Look, put on your tinfoil hat if you want to. I'm not gonna stop you. I want to have a little fun with this topic for a minute. But there's a couple angles you can take from it. There's the tinfoil hat side of it. You know, was it intentional marketing thing? Because obviously it gets attention. It gets the conversation going a little bit. It is interesting. It might drum up some interest in the product because if you pull one of the cards on that list, there's a guaranteed amount of money that you're locked in on. Also, there's the other angle, a little bit of a strategic angle. If you pull not necessarily the highest tier one, because I said again, I think one of them is as high as $75,000, which is a pretty good chunk of change for pulling one of those cards. But remember, they're duplicates. So if somebody submits it, then the other one becomes a one-of-one. So if you're not necessarily become the way it was supposed to be, but if you take one of the lower and mid-tier players necessarily, yeah, you could cash in if you're the first one to do it. But if you're the one who keeps it, the other one, then you've actually got a one-of-one, and you get to try your own hand at the open market and see what the one-of-one will sell, with the other one already having been redeemed and theoretically destroyed. Any thoughts on kind of that strategic side of that?
I think there'll end up being people chasing both sides of it.
Yeah. Look, the ideal is to have both copies, and then you get to and then you get to cash in on one automatically and have a one-of-one that you know for sure is taken care of.
Right. And is the person who pulls one, are they going to go to the open market instead of taking the guaranteed cash, because now, like Sherry said, are the people going to try to get the two? You know, and yeah, it's a little weird, but yeah.
Well, bounties drive product too, right? So
They can.
like last year, well, actually, it's 2021 metal when there was the bounty out there for 100K for the Ovechkin PMG 101 Retro. That drove the product for all the breakers because they were trying to pull that card for the bounty. So the same thing's going to happen when Upper Deck Series 2 comes out and Connor Bedard got a 101 Young Gun in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a bounty on, there's going to be more than one bounty on that card. And they're not going to be small bounties. So that's just going to drive that product more. So that could be what Topps is doing here, putting double bounties, if you would, because one will sell for a set price, which sets the market for the actual true 101 once that one's redeemed.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
So
Now let me pose a question here. I'll kind of play both sides. I'll play a little devil's advocate and also kind of play into the. Let's have a little fun with the tinfoil hat side of things, just for a moment. One theory is that they did it intentionally to drum up interest and discussion and demand and the whole thing and the argument is that, well, they were, once the issue became apparent, they came out with the press release, basically the mea culpa, but then they had a website where you could see all the different cards and the different bounty levels, so to speak, depending on the redeem pricing of all the different ones that were identified. Now, the other side of the coin is it worthwhile for the marketing to look like idiots? Because effectively, it's, the idea here is that it's a massive mistake. It's that you have got this list of presumably, copies that are supposed to be there for replacement, because that's normal. That manufacturers for many years have created replacement. If you have a real one of one and it gets damaged, which can totally happen, ideally you'd like to be able to get a replacement in kind. So in order to accomplish that, you probably have to print another copy. The idea, though, is you're supposed to have enough control to make sure it doesn't end up in the product. That's kind of the. So do you risk the reputational hit if you're fanatics this soon in the game really taking it over to do it for marketing purposes, or is it just flat out, all right, look, this is our best way of trying to fix this mistake. We're just going to throw a checkbook at it and here you go. We try to make something out of nothing.
That's the route I would go, because I mean, if you're buying products and you're, spending the cash and hoping to pull one of these one-of-ones, and then all of a sudden, hey, there's more than one of one. It's a two of one. It doesn't look great. I mean, obviously, I understand you're making the point about replacements and things, but sometimes you think, well, if you damage a one of one, it is a one of one. You could redeem it and get another player, maybe not the same player, but to actually think that there's more than one of the one of one. But yeah, I don't know.
I think these places should protect the one-on-one. Like, I don't know, come up with a way when it's put in the package or whatever, when you get that one-on-one card, it's protected instead of getting it out and it's dinged or whatever. There must be some sort of way to protect the product. I know people will start weighing their packs and all that stuff, but there's got to be a better way, because there's no excuse to spend money and then basically get a card that's damaged.
Like the only
and
product
then to find out there's another one in existence.
The only product I know of that actually got any sort of protection is the SP Game Used. For all the rookies, like Caulfield. Okay, he's number 22. So there's his true rookie. There's 22 copies of his rookie card. But 22 of 22 is the only autographed copy. And that one there comes penny sleeved in the pack. So if you open up a pack and there's a penny sleeve in it, you've got the last of a print run of the actual card, the only autograph one. So in actual fact, they're actually one-of-ones.
There you go. That is one way that you can do it. And I've seen that in products with buybacks as well. Sometimes if something's got a buyback in it, they'll do the penny sleeve thing to get the little certificate of authenticity in it along with the card itself. So as soon as you see something in a penny sleeve, to Lloyd's point, then you kind of know that it's special. It's something special inside the pack. They used to do that with some products where they had them inside a little box. So instead of having like a pack, you'd have it inside a little box. And obviously that meant you couldn't feel the pack because it was rigid. The idea was that it protected it. didn't prevent you necessarily from weighing it, but the weighing thing became a bit of an issue for a long time. That was an issue in the Pokemon thing with the first edition and the holofoils and everything. There was a little extra weight because the holofoil weighed just a little bit more, so you have people out there with the scale just checking it out and trying to see if they could pull the more desirable card. So that was kind of a thing that came of it. But no, I wanted to kind of bring up that question because obviously it is a current topic a little bit. And I'll throw a little curveball at you guys for once in a while, bring a little topic. It's not necessarily the stuff that you guys are worrying about in the shop per se, but at the same time, it's a real thing. And one other point that I'll make, bringing it back over to the hockey side, this is not the first time there's been an issue like that, certainly. But it's, the advertised print run versus what actually came out of the packs. That was an issue with the early years of finest refractors in hockey. There was that situation infamously where the Yarmir Yager, I think the print was supposed to be 240, 241 refractors, gold refractors or whatever it was. And somebody went and collected over 300 of them. So it became very clear that the stated print run wasn't even close. That wasn't a little bit off. That wasn't a replacement situation. That was like, they were just flat out more of them than what was supposed to exist. And somebody was able to prove it by physically having well over the number that was supposed to be out there. And I think they were compensated for that because at that time, Topps, said, okay, fine, you got us. there were a few more than we said that were supposed to be out there, but they didn't number them at the time, so it was kind of getting them an out. A one of one, you really don't have an excuse if you can count past one. If you can count past one, you probably know there's something wrong. One thing I'll add though, I did like to play devil's advocate. We did the tinfoil thing for a little bit. I did look at some commentary where people are like, well, how do they know how many were missing? It's like, well, if you did do replacement, you should have them in a box. And if you can get somebody to count, you can find out how many are missing. I just wanted to share that. Guys, you do know you can count how many there are. If there's supposed to be 200 of them and there's 105, maybe it's 95 is the answer you're looking for. Just throwing it out there. Want to let you all know, I thought I would offer that to you. I did enjoy listening to that commentary. It's like, how do they know? It's like, they can count. They got an intern whose job was to count.
Job requirement.
Yeah. Sometimes the hobby amuses me. Sometimes they'd be like, how do they know? It's like, they counted?
Yeah. Not rocket science.
Sometimes you would think so.
Sometimes
these cards be complicated sometimes. Yeah. Perfect. No, it's good stuff. Thank you. I appreciate the commentary and everything. So I want to leave it opened up. Any last kind of thoughts? We'll come back and reconvene and do some more of these episodes. We'll talk some more about these products and things that are coming up. Congratulations to you all members of the team for getting things going in the store. Things are looking good. I've been getting those progress photos and everything, even from this side of it. Seems to be that everybody's doing a really good job, to Steve's point, pulling together and doing a lot of very impressive things, building out there. And it looks like it's just the beginning. There's a lot more coming forward, and we'll get a chance to talk about more of that. But any last thoughts that anybody wants to share before we sign off on this one and come back for another episode later on?
Yeah, definitely. Just kind of circle back to what Steve said earlier. We'd like to thank everybody who made it possible to get this up and running and operating as quickly as we did. And then, of course, special thanks to you guys, because without you guys, we definitely wouldn't be here either. And then just to touch on the trade night and the card show that just happened over the weekend. We had an awesome crowd come out for trade night. Steve, what was the number on approximately for the card shows? Over 200?
250, I believe, but
Yeah.
my mother works the door, so I think she let a few children and elderly
definitely.
peoples in. So my guess
Yeah.
was over 300. But
Easily.
it was a really good turnout.
Yeah. So thanks to everyone who came out to the show there as well. And stay tuned. We'll post again when the next trade night is. And of course, once we have another date for the next show.
Very nice. Good stuff. Last thoughts? Forever hold your peace. All right. Sign off time then. All right. We appreciate everybody tuning in and checking this one out. We will be back, like I said, with other members of the team and the folks here to chime in on some of the other things going on. It'll be a regular occurrence now on the channel. Now we're getting a little momentum behind us. We'll also take the time to give you a little sneak preview. The intention is to have a little bit more of a, some segments as well, talking about like we did with the products and things, and be able to give you a little bit more of that, and we'll flesh it out. And if you've got any suggestions or comments, feel free to throw that in the comments section, because one of the things we really would like to do is make sure that if people come here and they get a chance to see something related to some of those products, give a little bit of a breakdown, especially when the breaking thing really gets into, into the flow. a lot of those products are going to be involved in the brakes. So we're definitely going to want to give you a little bit of that breakdown and that information so that you can come here and find that kind of information from us. Again, Cardboard Connections, a lot of those ones, we'll include links to that in the description because they are good resources. But there's very few things that substitute for hands-on experience and actually being able to see the product and really talking through it a little bit in a little bit more depth. And that's what we'll hopefully get a chance to do. So with that said, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel. I want to get past that 100. Let's go. Secondly, as well to that is, like I said, comments, suggestions, questions. A lot of that is open, and we'll be evolving the channel as we go forward with that. So Sherry, Lloyd, Blair, Steve, thank you for joining me. For everyone here on the team, congratulations.
Thank
First
you.
episode we got through, and
Yes.
we'll be back for another episode. We'll have a little bit more fun. Have yourselves a good morning, evening, night, wherever you are. Catch you in the next one.